Today we're going to make biltong, which is like a South African styled dried meat. Think of it as big beef jerky. First you want to start with pretty much any fairly lean and inexpensive cut of beef. You'll notice this is only $4.09 a pound, which I guess these days is cheap, still pretty expensive. But this is a beef sirloin tip roast. This is fine. You want a piece of meat that's fairly lean though, because the fat doesn't cure well and can spoil. So try to get one that's lean or that you can trim so it's lean. Ideally you want pieces of meat at about an inch thick. We're going to start by rinsing this off in the sink. This is pretty nasty. We don't know how old that stuff is. You just want to rinse it off. That's not a good way to start with possible nasty bacteria down there already. Alright, so we've got some marbling through here on the end. It's a roast, so it's been pulled together. We want to get this stuff out of there also. Since it looks like it wants to lay like this, I'll probably just bring my knife across here. That's a little bit thick, but it'll be alright. It shrinks pretty fast once it starts drying, so I think I'm just going to come straight across here. This isn't going to be a cooked steak, it's going to be dried, so don't worry about digging into it with the knife, gouging the steak or anything. It's not really going to matter. You know, let the meat determine what you end up doing with it. And you can see here that we're pretty much going to end up separating right down the middle. So just roll with it. So that's a pretty good piece, really. So we've got our 1 inch thickness we were after there. Got a little more trimming we can do along the edge here. Remember, we're drying this, so having the fat on there is not desirable, but it's not the end of the world. You can always trim it off even after it dries, and you probably will discover some fat when you're slicing it, and you can remove it later. So this piece is great. This one's kind of triangle shaped, so I really like this flat side, so let's work with that. And we'll just go about 1 inch thick and come right across it. That looks pretty good. So we'll do a little more trimming around the edge here. And this last one is a little funky, so we'll just try to take this piece off along the edge here. Here's our other piece we trimmed up. We got that last piece off of there. So this one will end up drying faster than these. So that's why it's good to check on it every couple days. We'll just come down and push on it. And you can see here that your finger digs in, which really is a good way to check even when you're cooking barbecue. You know, if you put your finger on it and it feels like this, then you know you're still rare. So this one will probably dry in a few days and will be ready to eat, whereas these other ones, this one will probably take a full week, and this one might take up to 10 days, or maybe about the same. All right, if you have somebody that doesn't like spicy, too much pepper, you can just do some salt for them. And you can see that I just put a bed of salt down here. And you want to just make sure you try to roll this meat. The salt is going to basically prevent the meat from spoiling until it's dry enough to be curing, if that makes any sense. If you just lay a piece of meat out, it'll spoil. But if you salt it, it kind of acid cures the outside of the meat before it can spoil, and then it begins a drying process. So this one's just salted, and this will be good for my mom who doesn't like peppers. We routinely get in trouble for giving her something too peppery. So we're going to take these down now. We have a storage room, so it stays about 75 degrees. So now we're going to dry our biltong. We have a fan here, and we have our drying pan just propped up, and this will dry in about a week's time. It's been 10 days since we put the biltong raw meat that we seasoned down on the screen with the fan. This looks done, so we're going to slice in and do it and see how we did. You can notice that if I push on it, it just gives ever so slightly. But for the most part, it's pretty hard, and you can see it's got the salt crusted on the outside. So let's cut into it and see how we did. How about right here? Okay, that looks good. So see the dark color around the edges is dried, and it's more tender in the middle. that marbling that's on there is safe to eat because it's totally surrounded by the outside. Let's see how it is. So you can tear right through it. It's got a nice salt, pepper, and kind of a garlic flavor. You can slice this up for a trip, pre-slice it, and sometimes we'll vacuum pack it, and then we can just scissor the package open. It's already sliced. Kind of like having a vacuum packed beef jerky. Very good on camping trips or long drives. So, hope you give it a try. It's good. It was originally done back when it was invented. Let's just do this one first.